Yes,
Good afternoon,
please
everybody.
introduce yourself and your company.
Yeah, I'm from Sayona, which the parent company is Motison Group. In Motison Group, we are into steel, hospitality, we are into chemicals, plastic, beverages. So we're a conglomerate, one of the biggest conglomerates in Tanzania. And this particular company operates in different kind of segments, be it rural, be it urban, be it D2C, be it B2B, be it mobile cash, be it in different countries in East Africa, West Africa, South Africa, in Middle East, in GCC countries. Therefore, working on manufacturing, improving customer experience in terms of digitalization, digital transformation, IIoT, 5G, AR, VR, 3D printing, AI, ML, all this technology, and of course, worked with Coca-Cola prior to this. And therefore, the basic understanding, which I think what I have learned is we as the generation of 50s are yet to learn the digitalization. Therefore, to unlearn, learn, and relearn. I think
Yes.
this is the modus operandi of working in a VUCA environment, the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, the ambiguity, and then how do you actually ensure that you use digitalization to improve CXM, CRM, SFA, you ensure how do you reduce your costs, optimization, employee satisfaction, the ESG initiatives, the community you serve in, the diversity you serve in. And Sayona as a company is looking after all these things in beverages sector to ensure how do you take into these ESG initiatives to be a better company in terms of customer satisfaction, where we are going wrong, how do you correct ourselves? And it should start from the top. And I being where the buck stops as a CEO level, therefore I being the humble person to ensure the trust, respect, integrity, passion, humility, excellence, teamwork, and on time is what is required. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Sue. I'm so looking forward to your input and your knowledge that you can share with us, specifically also from a digital perspective, because I think in general, people are, my experience, people first reaction when it comes to digitization and the digital impact that the impact that digital have on employees is fear. But we will touch on that. We will definitely explore what that means for employee engagement. But if I could start the conversation, just to give us the context of where we are going to talk, where we wish to focus our conversation on. And I would like to refer to this because it was so recent, and it was a statistic that really shocked me and really took me by surprise. But I wasn't that surprised by it. But it does call for CEOs and managers to focus our conversation, to do something about it. So at the Tanzanian Institute for Managers conference last week, one of the speakers did talk about employee engagement, and one of the statistics that he brought up is that 48%. According to a recent study, after COVID or during COVID, 48% of employees are dissatisfied, which ultimately means that 48% of your salary bill is wasted as an organization, So with that in mind, perhaps if we could start the conversation with how or what effective employee engagement is, and how does this influence organizational success? With that statistic in mind, if there's someone who would like to start a conversation or open up the conversation by answering that question. Sabia, I see you moving.
Eileen wanted to say something as well. Let her start, because I think I've talked quite a lot already. I can go after
her.
Sure.
Eileen?
Yes, when it comes to the employee engagement and during the digital age, I think it's quite critical And what can verify that is during the COVID time. I think that is the time that everybody works at home. For example, us, it was almost 100%. Very few people in the office, but the results were a mess. How can I say a mess? Because we shifted from using just normal natural way of communication. We move into digital way of communication. Being internet, being as an enabler, we manage to save lives when it comes to businesses. We manage to save lives when it comes to different offices using our connectivity at home. And you can see what definitely pushes that is the creating of the sense of energy to the team. I think that is important. Energy to the team, you create the purpose. Where are we doing this? Where are we doing this? You connect the business result and the purpose to our communities. I think that is critical. When we look into this, you feel like it's not about just the work you're doing. Are we here to save lives? Are we enable the citizens? Are we enabling the communities? Are we enabling the businesses to secure the businesses through connectivity, through internet? I think that is a critical element that we look into it, and definitely create the ownership to the team, immerse to promote accountability while they're delivering that particular purpose. And of course, include participation. Are they feeling? Because we know exactly the fact that the world was impacted. Africa was impacted. Different countries were impacted. Tanzania was impacted. So the reality of connectivity pushes that, and everybody feel the sense of connectivity, feel the sense of ownership, and this become as a crucial element to make the world move.
So employee engagement, participation, purpose, and accountability. Soups, I see your hand is up. Would you like to add to that?
Yeah, the primary thing was I was in the transition between Coca-Cola and Sayona. So
Yes.
what did Coca-Cola do and what did Sayona do? It was in the COVID times. What exactly happened is that to ensure the community which you are serving, how do you take care of the community? The engagement is not about getting business. The engagement is not about ensuring the staff is only happy. If the family is not happy, there is no way the staff is going to be happy. So it is the community we are serving. It is the community from where we are earning profits. It is they are delivering value to the business. So how do you actually ensure that you get into that kind of a segment where WFM, if you talk about internet access, it is not that we are getting into digitalization. We are already into digitalization. We are already there. Therefore, if you talk about 5G, 4G, connectivity, offline, workforce management, where 50% of the employees are actually outside, and how do you ensure safety as far as the manufacturing site is concerned? If at all you are in the service levels of hospitality, because you have got Seacliff hotels, you have got White Sand hotels, where people are not going to come to the hotels in the terms of how the business actually gone sour. The total business has gone dry. And how do you support the staff at that point of time? How do you ensure that you create value into the system? How do you ensure that you get trust into the system? How do you ensure that the families, the suppliers, the channel partners are taken care of? In the beverage part, in the total manufacturing division, how do you ensure that the people can actually fly from their houses, which is might be 40 kilometers, 60 kilometers, 80 kilometers away to the place of work? Is it possible that you can actually work by staying outside? 50% of the people might be work from home or directly to the field, where connectivity is one of the major aspects of it, and you give a sanitizer or you take care of them. But what about the manufacturing site where they must be present? Therefore, the primary fundamental thing in which Coca-Cola did is ensuring it becomes a cyclable kind of a process in which not everybody is working on every days. So they have taken care of that. Second thing is whether the food, everything, the ration, everything was available at that point of time. It is not that we were particularly giving all these ration facilities, but we clubbed up with the retail segment in which they don't have to bother for all those things. In Sayona, for example, what we did, we did the vaccination process. So all the staff who were there got into the vaccination process of ensuring that they were taken care of. While vaccination became a particular scarce commodity, we really helped them. So in spite of doing that, there are a lot of dissatisfaction also, because you have to understand from where they're coming from. It is not about that particular entity who is happy. Might be there are some other people who have lost their jobs as well, or their business has actually gone dry. Therefore, it is a cumulative kind of effect. So therefore, empathy, compassion was necessary at that point of time, and I think we did it. The expatriates, families were there in India, for example, or South Africa, or in European countries where they couldn't travel, and there were deaths all around. Therefore, it was a complex kind of, and it was unique. That's why I said VUCA. Volatility, you talk about uncertainty, you talk about complexity, you talk about ambiguity, and that was reality. And how do you actually serve the employees? Because employees' satisfaction, employees' safety, employees' health, the core values of the company, to ensure how they translate themselves to satisfaction and traceability in terms of getting value to the end customer. Me, the internal customer, is also the external customer to the companies.
Yes.
So it is how we value that particular, and it should come from the top, as I told you. And the second thing is training. It is not only motivation. Motivation is the easier part of the job, that you can every day morning, you can give one particular motivational link and say that is motivation. But it should start from the top. How do you actually value each and every individual? How do you ensure? Because one size doesn't fit all. Therefore, you have to be really talking about different kind of subculture in the company. An accounts department's culture is quite different from the manufacturing department's culture. Though the basic culture of the organization is to ensure that everybody is satisfied. So how do you take care of these intrinsic values? So that value system is what is important. I think Sayona did try at its level, where some places we failed, some places we succeeded. In Coca-Cola also, we tried the same places. Some places we failed, some places we succeeded. But that's how the learning process, because it was a new thing for everybody as well. And I'm talking about employees' engagement. It is more or less to talk about employee satisfaction. Therefore, it is like this, that whether you want to train your staff, there is a cost. And if you don't train your staff, there is a cost as well. Your staff, after training, they might leave you. But if you don't train, and that particular person without training leaves, stays with you for 15 years, that is also becomes a weight.
Absolutely. It's a question of, is retention less expensive than training and development? So that is a topic for another day. It's always an interesting topic to have a conversation about. But Soups, thank you so much for your input. I think what came very strong for me, or what I heard a lot, is about how important it was at that stage to ensure employee engagement through community engagement, taking care of the people around the employee as well, having the privilege in an organization like yours to have been able to do that. Sabia, I see your hand if you would like to continue, and then Sia thereafter.
Yeah, so I think, what you did ask, and I think Aileen and Subs both had really, really good points with regards to employee engagement. I think what you did ask also was, what it is. And they did answer it. I just want to put a little bit of clarity around it for myself. Okay.
Yes, of course.
It's just that the fact that, yes, employee engagement at the most basic level is making sure that your staff, or the people who work in an organization, are satisfied with the organization where they work, the roles that they work in as well, and also making sure that they're engaged, or they buy into the vision of the organization. And I think this is where a lot of the times, especially with the clients that we deal with as well, and I say this, there is a saying which they say that, when you actually do something, you don't necessarily look around in your own organization and implement that. So I think it's very important for all of us to, have a clear vision as to what our organization is actually all about. What are our core values? And make sure that the employees actually buy into those values. Now, buying into those values, actually what happens is, as the leadership of an organization, there are a couple of questions which your employees are going to ask, So first of all, making sure that it's very clear that an employee knows what is required of them at the workplace. What is their job role? How much leeway do they have to grow as well within that organization? I think that's very important. And do they have the resources they require as well to grow? Because if you are somebody who is very excited about a particular role and you don't have the resources to be able to grow, that's something which is going to frustrate you. And at the end of the day, it's going to actually also cause your engagement to not necessarily be as, you're not going to be as engaged in an organization and buy into that vision as you would have if you had the resources to do what you need to do. Are you being recognized for the good job that you're actually doing? Recognition, I think, is extremely important, and especially with smaller organizations such as mine, because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not the likes of Coca-Cola or Vodafone, or for a small company. So for an organization like us, it's sometimes it's not that I don't want to recognize my people, but what happens is that we kind of we take it for granted sometimes. And that's something which is very important for us to actually make sure that, a job well done is being recognized, because what that does is actually motivates the rest of the staff as well. So you're setting precedent over there as well. Is the job that I'm doing important? Are they things that I'm doing? Am I actually adding value to myself, to my organization? And is there a greater purpose out there? So, like, for example, when I started out this company, the motivation for me, was I wanted to actually be able to help people and also earn a living from helping people. And that was one of my biggest motivations for doing this, And I think 14, 15 years down the line, that is still one of the motivations that I really have. I think that is one of the reasons why I'm still in this space, because recruitment isn't, the most easiest of, industries to be in. So yeah, I think there are a lot of factors which contribute to employee engagement, and I think so that's my 2 cents with regards to the
context that we're living, that we're talking about today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tabia. I hear purpose a lot. I mean, the 4 Ps of business and the business environment has always been what we've known as people, planet, profit, right?
Yes.
But now the addition of purpose is becoming more and more prevalent and more important within the business environment because of employee engagement. And we'll get to how employee engagement and customer satisfaction links to one another. We'll ask one of the gentlemen to talk to us about that. But Sia, your hand is also up if you would like to add to that.
Yeah, thank you. Linda, thank you very much. Accept my apology for me to go on because I'm using my mobile phone, so it's very difficult to put a picture there. So just going to the point as you really started, engagement has been there. Engagement has been there. Employee engagement has been there before even digital. It has been there. But again, during the COVID, to go particular to the question, it's when we really needed to shift our mindset completely in terms of how we want to pursue certain things. And I'll tell you, I'll mention some few factors. Imagine a situation where you're managing people, 4 types of groups in an organization, where you have the silents, you have the baby boomers, you have the Gen X, the millennials, and all that, who have different ways of looking at things, and the way they consider the ethical ways of working are completely different. And this is where a shift in mindset was really required, because organizations had started the digital journey, but I think the coming of COVID spearheaded most of the initiatives which we had put aside. So few things that I saw, and I would like to speak into 4 different groups. The first one will be really looking at the organization. Some organizations were not ready. Some organizations were ready. So if an organization was not ready and things had to move, business had to continue, it means they had to invest in technology to ensure that they are curbing all the business opportunities that were there. That was the first thing. So the first struggle was ensuring that as an organization, we're investing in the right technology to ensure that you're supporting the customers as expected. Number two, think of the employees. You had employees, some of them, yes, some of the industries was possible to work from home completely or work remotely by 100%. But again, the working from home required some investment in technology. Yeah, we know we are Africans and we know our families, we know our houses that we reside in. Were they really supporting the digital agenda? Most of them, no. I remember in some situations where I had to tell people, just go home. They said, no, I better stay in the office where I think I'm more safer than going home. And the third area where most organizations had to look into was looking at the customers. How are we going to serve our customers? There are certain customers, for instance, the banking customers, who believes that a bank is a place where you need to go a physical place and you need to meet a bank teller who is a lady and not a man. So for these people to change their mind was not an easy thing again. So for organization really required people to shift their mind. That will be the first thing. But second, in all this, the leaders who were at the front required to really change completely. And they needed to be in 4 forms. The first form is leading from the head, having a vision. What vision are you sharing with your people? What is it that you want to communicate? The second item that leaders had to learn was leading by hands, doing, showing the things that you're saying and leading by example. The third one was leading from the heart, the empathy bit, which was covered by my colleagues here. The empathy bit needed to play a bigger part because you needed your employees first to be safe, and secondly, to be able to serve their customers and their families as well. And the third one, the last one, was habits. What habits are you exhibiting as a leader to the people that are around you? So all these shifts, the investment in technology, the thinking of the customer, the thinking of the employees really had to shift things, and even the communication, the kind of communication that we are using had to change, because you have these 4 kinds of people who have different thinking, who have different expectations, and you need to bring them all together. So for the sake of time, I think I want to stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sia. And I would also like to thank you, Sue. I see you are keeping an eye on the chats as well, which is going on in the background, and answering and responding to chats there as well. So thank you very much for that. I see that there are very interesting questions.
Just a quick one, just a one-liner. Can I add it?
Yes,
a one-liner.
Yes, but thank you so much.
Somebody is talking about remuneration is important or not. Remuneration is definitely important. It is one of the crucial things which happens through. But along with remuneration, the respect, the value system matters. The right job for the right person in the right place is important.
Absolutely.
Let me give a small little example. In the hospitality industry in Zanzibar, for example, we have got hotels called Sea Cliff Zanzibar. The visitors were not there. There is an accounts person who was there. All the staff of different particular job profile were there. But how to get in business and do the job which you are slated to do when the customers are not there? So who is the key? The key is the customer. Is it the survival of the business, or it is the survival of ours as well? So everybody becomes collaborative. Everybody understands the demands of that particular situation, and then say, okay, let me go to my customers, my supply chain partners, my channel partners, my different kinds of knowing people. Can you really do something in which you take care of those persons in Zanzibar and help them in getting more businesses and give them value to that? Is it possible to bring in the relatives of the person whom we have not given them a chance before to have safety, because they might be staying in one room kind of an apartment? Can you put them in the hotel and make them to stay and take care of that particular medical issues at that point of time? Is it possible? So these are small things to be done along with remuneration. Nobody denies that salaries and important thing. But along with this, for example, the Europe and US and in India or in in China, they give ESOPs. What is the meaning of giving ESOPs? The meaning is your fixed cost still remains less. Your fixed cost remains less because you are getting ESOP, and therefore you don't have to increase your salary. The salary burden is actually less because you're getting ESOPs, which is the other form. But in Africa, in other companies, it is not that ESOP is relevant over here, because as the devaluation of currency happens, as the environment of having the consolidation in the stock market happens, it will slowly come into practice. Therefore, it is not money alone. Money is definitely pivot, but along with money, there are a few things as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that add there, Tony. As this is your industry, is there something you would like to add to what was just said? We're still on the first kind of conceptualization of employee engagement, and then from there on, we was about how does this then link to customer experience, or how does that add value there? So, Michael, I see your hand is up. If you would like to add, being in the hospitality industry, maybe you can shed some light for us there.
Thank you, Linda. It's actually a great question. I want to highlight 2 points when it comes to employee engagement, and I can say these are 2 important points. If companies they take care of, they can improve their employee engagement. The first point is the company or the organization must make sure that they are communicating very well their mission and vision to their employees. The employees, they understand really what is the mission and vision of the company. I often see, even within the hospitality industry, organizations, they have their vision and mission, but the employees or the line employees, they don't really understand. Is our mission is just to make money, or to be #1 in customer service, or what is exactly our goals? And in my opinion, there are some of the top management, they believe it's not necessary to share this with the junior staff, which is a big mistake. They want to share this with the executives, they want to share with the top management, but they don't feel the necessity to share it with the junior staff. But it's really important for everyone within the organization to understand what are the goals for the organization, what our mission, and what is our vision also for the organization. The second point, which is sharing information. So, for example, within the hospitality industry, like let's talk about financials. Some of the information, the top management, they believe those informations are limited for certain management. Like, for example, budget shouldn't be shared with the line employees, or the junior staff, they don't have to know did we achieve our financial goals or not, or what is our budget for this year in terms of occupancy, in terms of revenue, which is, if you notice that most of the big corporations, like let's say I'll talk about Marriott International because it's a listed company, their financial statements are accessible for all the employees. They do regular meetings to share and celebrate also the success. So the employees, they feel that yes, for example, in 2022, we worked hard, we achieved high occupancy, we achieved our budget, or we exceeded our budget, we improved our revenue, we improved our financial goals, and that will improve also the employee engagement. Thanks, Linda.
That's a very interesting point, Michael. You're starting to link, because your industry is so, the customer experience is what drives your industry, right? So you're bringing it closer to our topic today as well. You managed to reach the targets that you set out for yourself as a group, right? Through employee engagement, which means that your customers were satisfied. So maybe if you could add to that, or if one of the other panelists would like to add to that. I see Tony must have lost connectivity. I would have loved him to chime in here as well. But let's have a look. Maybe Sabia or anyone else who would like to link the employee engagement and customer experience, who would like to link the two together? Yes, Eileen, if you would like to take, but thank you very much, Michael. I think you introduced the next leg of our discussion perfectly. Thank you so much. Eileen?
Sure. When I said the link about the employee customer engagement, and for me, number one there is customer. And I always say our customer are key partners. Customers are like the heart of every organization or business. And I think there is a link, because whatever we do for them. Whatever we act for them. And when you look into profitability of the company, when we look into the purpose of the company, is actually linked to them. So definitely the engagement should be into the veins of every employee to understand where I'm going. I'm actually going to do the transformation. Will I make this customer happy? Will I deliver what the customer wants? Will I deliver the purpose that I'm driven to do? So I think it's very important to understand first the heart of every organization is a customer. That is the heart. And without the heart, the business collapse, the NGO collapse, the bank collapse, anything can collapse without that particular heart. And that particular heart is actually driving the profitability to the business, or is driving the purpose that the business is there to deliver. So it should be linked even to the salary. It should be linked for your daily activity that we do as a purpose. For individual purpose, it should be linked in that particular way. So I think in that particular aspect, you know already, if that we are the veins, the employee, we are pumping that particular blood to the heart, which is the customer.
Can I just add to that as well by saying that definitely the customers are definitely the lifeblood of any organization, because that's how you survive. That's how you make your bread and butter. But at the end of the day, you know, whether you're an organization as big as Vodacom, Coca-Cola, or a smaller organization just like Shugulika, at the end of the day, I as an entrepreneur as well, it's impossible for me to be customer facing all the time. You know, your employees are going to be the people who are a lot of the times, you know, dealing with queries and all of that, the people who are working in the organization. So it's important for every organization to also make sure that, you know, using your employee is not just to look at them as somebody who works for you, but who works with you. You know, your employee or somebody who works in the organization should be taken as a partner, as opposed to somebody who you are, you know, the boss of. You know, you need to be more of a coach, and it's easier said than done. I admit, and I agree. You know, it's not it's not something which is easy. But, you know, you need to look at them as somebody who is more of a partner and somebody who has got buy-in into the organization. So once they have that buy-in into the organization and they feel like they're part of the organization, they actually give in a lot more. You know, it's almost as if they're part of, you know, they're a shareholder without actually being a shareholder, because they have so much at stake, and they actually feel for that. And that's basically where that the engagement part
lies.
in. Exactly. So if you have that, if you have somebody who is a partner, and, you know, they go out and they're representing your organization as well as you are, I mean, just imagine the effects of that. You know, how awesome is that? Because they're representing as well as you, but probably even better.
Yeah,
you know?
because
So,
they have different skills. That's why you employed them, right?
100%. And that's why your customer experience just improves significantly as well.
Yeah, because your customer, who is the heart of the business, feel passion. They see conviction. They experience the service that you provide or the product that you sell to them. So yes, there's a definite link between the two. I don't know, Sia, if you want to bring that link even closer. Your hand was up next, and then Sups, I see your hand is up as well. So yes, Sia.
Thank you, Linda. I think the two subjects are inseparable for two major reasons. Each business is there to make profit and to prosper. And in all these, you need customers. They need customers. So you need customers, but you need your internal people to be able to serve your customers. So there's a very important linkage between the two. And taking care of your employees for them to be engaged involves a lot of things, which can be really intrinsic, both intrinsic and extrinsic motivational factors. Salary can be one, but money is not everything. We have organizations which are paying well, but their employees are not engaged. So for us, engagement is key, and it looks at a number of things. Number one, do you have a proper defined culture, a culture that people are free to speak up? Number two, do your employees see a proper career progression? Is there a proper career progression where if a person works in the organization, does he see his 3 to 4 years? Do you have programs that helps them? Is there a proper room for learning and development, growth? Do you see yourself offering opportunities for your employees to grow, and a number of others? So when this kind of a person has that kind of emotional attachment to the organization, you expect him to be speaking freely to the customers, going to extra mile, delivering above what you've said, refer other customers to you. And unlikely a person who is not engaged, instead of him serving customers to a better extent, he'll be speaking negatively about your organization, and that will not help. So we're saying an emotional connection, which is an emotional connected employee who is engaged, is likely to bring more customers to the organization because he'll be more creative, he'll be speaking positively, he'll have open mind, he'll refer clients. He can do a lot of more things without even being paid, because engagement looks at more factors than money aspect only. Thank you.
Absolutely. I hear what you were saying about emotional connection. I think when people hear the word emotion, there's many feelings and thoughts that go through their head. For those of you who joined the conference, we spoke about emotional agility, and almost every speaker spoke about emotional intelligence and how important that is to grow employees and to grow the environment in which we work as employees, as employers, and as teams, right? But that investment that we make in our teams, in our people, to provide them with the opportunity of growth, if that's their choice. Sia, you also said something a little bit earlier about the different generations and how we need to know what employee needs are before we just give it, because not everyone is driven, as you rightfully said, by the financial, by money, by the bonuses. They are driven by different experience, driven by different development opportunities, driven by different motivators. So I think it is very important that within what you said earlier, to also link to what I see is happening in the chat as well about training, is that we have to understand what drives and what motivates our employees to be engaged, because that's what you want. You want that engaged employee, because everyone rightfully said an engaged employee can be seen, felt, experienced by the customer, who is your lifeblood and who should see the passion that each employee has in the organization and for the organization. How do we reach that? Because that is our ultimate goal. You're right, Sabia, in saying that they are the people we do. Without them, we won't survive. Customers, but to get those customers, does rely on our employees. Sups, your hand was up. I don't know if
Yeah.
you were about to. Okay, would you like to
Yeah,
go next? Give us some insight.
Yeah, just a quick one. What I meant to say is that in the business, customers, profits, better pay. So customer in terms of internal customers, customers in terms of external customers, satisfaction, traceability to ensure RGM, revenue generation. You talk about the synergy. You talk about where does digitalization actually help, and where the integration happens, and how do actually it integrates into the system in terms of scalability, in terms of agility, in terms of addressing B2B, D2C, B2C in every sphere. Number one, data. Number two, insights. Number three, actionable data. Number four, decisions. And number five, dashboards. Now, how does digitalization helps as far as customer experience is concerned? If there is an intense eye or a kinetic eye in the manufacturing setup where they talk about safety, you talk about how the conducive best practices, the BRCs, the ISO systems are actually in place. If we talk about the generally getting into the marketplace and what the customer actually wants, be it in B2B, the distribution channel, the wholesalers, the retailers, the Dukas, the Horeca business. If you talk about that particular channel, or if you talk about the rural segment, if you talk about the urban segment in terms of Amazons of the world, the Flipkarts of the world, how do you actually take care of the customers? It is all about data. And then getting into the safety part of it. How do you take care of your employees, the internal customers, the channel partners, to ensure they are safe while delivering the value to the customer? Instead of, for example, a small size soda, if you sell a 1 liter, 2 liter soda, it's a FC pack. And therefore, you are actually driving more volumes, more profitable volumes, and therefore at lesser distribution cost. And therefore, the health hazard is reduced. So how do you get that? You get that through AI. You get that through, as one lady was there whose designation talks about self-sales enablement. If you talk about HubSpot, if you talk about general kind of software services which helps to aid the salesperson or aid the manufacturing person to make a better product or sell at a better product, managing the quality, managing the traceability, and therefore delivering the product. Once the company gets the profits, there is every chance of a certain amount of percentage of profits gets into the employee's pocket as well. So it is an intrinsic way of both contributing to each other, the synergy, the scalability to ensure that we drive volumes, profitable volumes, and each gets benefited. Thank you.
I am very grateful that you started my where I wanted this conversation to be driven to as well. I see my camera is showing me as purple. I promise you that I'm still a human being. I don't know what is happening with my camera, so excuse that. I'm just going to do this so that you don't have to look at the purple me, my inner being. I suppose that's my aura. That's just a joke, ladies and gentlemen. But what I want to bring us back to, Sups, is you touched on it, and I think it's a very important aspect that we also need to talk about when it comes to digitization and the digital age, because the digital age made us. And maybe you can comment on this as a panel. How did the digital age impact the way in which we engage with our employees and therefore also impact our customer experiences? We look at customers, analyze customers, look at markets and marketing opportunities completely different now than we did maybe 2 years ago because of the digital environment. Sups, you've got a lot of background when it comes to digitization. Yeah, I'll try to get my aura right. Melissa, I see your comment there. Thank you very much. But Sups, if you would like to introduce that topic for the rest of us to link on, and then Sia, I see your hand is up as well. Please, if you can then comment and continue the conversation, because it is definitely something that we have to address, digitization.
Thank you. Now let me talk about the functionalities of the business. If you look at the functionalities of the business, if you talk about HR, then you've got HCM, and you've got HRIS. If we talk about HCM, because everybody was talking about employee engagement, efficiency, learning, training, development, usability, talent management, the performance management system, the self-driven, the different kind of softwares along with it, that is Kronos, ADP, Ceridian, NuWonder, Infor. These are the softwares which actually helps you to support that kind of. If we talk about retention, somebody was talking about retention is very, very important. If you talk about retention, you talk about competitive sales, onboarding experience, professional development, revenue. You talk about pain and discomfort to be removed. You talk about manage the managers. It is not about the employees as such. How do the system works in managing the managers as such? You talk about hiring slow but be right at the first time, and how do you actually achieve those things through UKG? You talk about different kind of HR systems as HRIS. You talk about, as I told you, the manufacturing segment. If you talk about Intense Eye, Kinetic Eye, it talks about the safety of the environment. If you talk about WFM, workforce management, how the persons who are actually not in the offices, but they're actually elsewhere, how do you actually communicate? If you talk about procure to pay, a particular customer, a cooler needs repair, and how do you take care of repair? So Zip HQ, Coupa, SAP, Ariba, how do you actually manage those softwares to ensure that deliverables directly go to the destination without getting into the companies and then I talked about how do you do TEEP or OEE or OKR, the process as such, instead of getting into KPIs, how do you ensure the processes are taken to a little bit of jargon? I'm sorry, but I cannot help it.
Yeah, I can hear that you can't help it. You're so passionate about it. It's beautiful. I just want to, I just want to add to that. One of our previous webinars, one of the speakers said, and it really touched me. He said, the people are our champions of the organization. But systems wins championships. And I think that's exactly what you were saying.
Small little thing. China closes in the month of December. COVID was at its top at that point of China was closed. And one particular spare was required. Now what happened is that there is 3D printing. They do CNC machining. And they got the spares done in Africa itself. So what has happened is that whatever spares which was purchased from China, and you have to buy more, and you have to give your dollars where your devaluation of currency is happening. Whereas from Africa itself, you started getting everything done, and through technology became safe. And now you don't have to spend so much money. And while you are saving money, your contribution margin is going up. If your contribution margin is going up, your EBITDA is going up. Your EBITDA is going up. Your PAT is going up. Your PAT is going up. There is no way the employee is not going to get its piece of the slice of the cake. My chairman, Mr. Pawan Patel says, Mukherjee, bring me the cake, and I'll get you a slice. The thing is that for the top management, you have to bring the cake. If that cake is not there, how do you get the slice? And therefore, it is the incompetence of the senior management. It is the incompetence of CEO like me who actually ensures the company goes in the wrong direction. Therefore, before taking care of the employee engagement, what should be done is to ensure whether the CEO is doing right, whether top management is doing right, and then they should be regularly, the performance management system should work, 360-degree feedback should work. And if that 360-degree feedback works, there is no way that the company doesn't change. The change management is key to all the development aspects. You talk about customer retention, LTV, you talk about customer cost of per carton, cost per unit. How do you reduce so that you increase your contribution margin? Sustainability. The second most important thing is sustainability. How do you ensure that be it a small organization, be it a bigger organization, doesn't matter. Be it my own private or little organization, how do you work on consistency and sustainability? ESG initiatives. How do you harvest rainwater? These simple little things. How do you treat the community? Mexico, recently, there is a water shortage. One of the brands actually stopped making beverages over there in Mexico. Is it the right thing to do? Yes, it is the right thing to do. And now they're talking about a collaborative kind of a system in which Mexico, everybody is buying bottled water. But the poor people cannot buy bottled water. So how do we actually manage that gap? And how does it help? Mexico is getting water from aquifers only. So if they're getting, and now the Mexicans are using brackish water. Now, if at all, that is a scenario, kind of a scenario that they're using brackish water. Now, how do you take care of the community you are serving? Long time, the profiteering has gone out of the window. It is profitability, but along with community we are serving, the diversity, the inclusion, the ESG initiatives. I think that is the key. And digitalization helps.
Yeah. And I think we are also working with a more, or we are experiencing a more conscious customer as well, very much what Soups are saying as well there. People are looking not just at your product, looking at your sustainability, looking at what you are doing for the community, and seeing if what they value is what you as an organization stand for. So bringing us back to that value, bringing us back to your employees being engaged with the value that you are offering, so that your customer experiences can grow and your customers can link to what your values are. Sabia, your hand must be very tired by now. It's been up for a while.
Thank God it's not a physical hand. Just the virtual one.
Yeah, thank goodness. If you'd like to add to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just wanted to go back to the question as well. I mean, Subs brought up a lot of points there. Basically, I think just to tie them all up together, showing that, the digital age has severely impacted the way that we engage with our employees, to the extent that also how it affects our customer service. Because what happens is the fact that you have systems in place makes sure a lot of the times that, first of all, your delivery is a lot more consistent. Because as soon as, let's say, if you have a delivery or an order somewhere, even in my business, if we, let's say, for the recruitment part, if we have a position, the first thing we do is we go to our ATS and we input the job in our system. So there's no way it's going to get lost. It's already been inputted into our system, and then it moves across along the pipeline in our system as well. So and that, I'm sure, definitely happens in most industries. So consistency is there. You have accountability, which is increased as well, because people can't just say, hey, I didn't know that this happened. There's not a piece of paper that somebody put on my desk. It's literally in the system and everyone can track that, So the accountability is there as well. With regards to timings as well, your turnaround times are supposed to be a lot more quick as opposed to what they might have been in the past. You have more resources at your disposal, especially because a lot of things are available online as well right now. So the internet as well has enabled us to have more information. Whether that's a benefit or a curse, I will let you judge that, but that's also one of the things. Well, we look at it in a positive way. And yes, there are a lot of positive aspects to technology and being more digitally savvy and all of that. But I'd also like to bring up, as maybe being a little bit of a devil's advocate here, the negative impacts that technology has actually brought up. The way we engage with our employees, just the fact that we have mobile phones right now. Once, back in the days when my parents used to work, my dad would clock out of the office and he'd go home, and the only way you can reach him is on the landline, right? If he'd go out, he's at the beach or something like that, you can't be reached unless you're with the people you're with as such. Right now, you have your mobile phones. You're literally, you're contactable 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And in some cases, that's a good thing when it comes to emergencies. But there's sometimes where you don't necessarily want everybody to be able to have contact, And a lot of the times, employers take advantage of this. And I do know in certain countries recently, what they've done is they've actually said that, you can't, as an employer, you're not allowed to contact your employees after a certain time. Because what that means is they're allowed to have a better work-life balance as well. And I think part of having employee engagement is to be able to give your employees the time to actually de-stress and not make sure that they're so stressed and they need to be accountable all the time, unless that's their job. And let's be honest, there's some professions, like if you're a doctor, you kind of do need to be available all the time, because that's an oath you've taken as being a doctor. If you're working in business, you don't necessarily need to be. It's not like a life and death, scenario where you need to be available 100% of the time.
Or in hospitality, like Michael.
Yes,
in
like
hospitality, maybe that is something like a cell phone, even when we didn't have them, didn't stop the hospitality industry from being available 24/7 for their customers and for their experience. I don't know, Michael, if you'd like to say something about that, but the hospitality industry was always like that. But what you are saying is very true. It is part of employee engagement to respect employee work-life balance. And it has become very easy, if you're a hybrid worker, to 100% be at home the whole time. But if that is where you work, it also means that you are 100% at work all the time. And that is something that employers and people very often forget, is that, but they are at home. Let's quickly, I'm so sorry to bug you at this hour, but so I think it is part of employee engagement and respect for that, to ensure that we make sure that our staff can engage with the organization at optimal, and therefore with the customers at optimal, only when they are rested and when they do have a balance. Eileen, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I think I want to justice if I don't talk a bit about marketing bit of employee engagement. I think this is quite critical when it comes to employee engagement, and they're carrying the brand of every single organization. So that's why when you go out there, somebody won't understand you're working in the legal, they'll ask it just a normal question of the normal particular person who is working the customer service. So I think it's quite critical to see how are we positioning our brand. Are our employee proud to work for organization? Are they taking the ownership as if these are their own businesses? Is it something? Are we trusting them and feel like they're actually one of the key critical people in the organization to drive? Because at the end of the day, they are the people who are positioning a brand. These are the people that are placing a brand into the organization. These are the people that are placing a brand into different companies. These are the people that are placing a brand into the community. And these are the people that are carrying our business to another level, because there is a power of branding and positioning. There is a power of trust, because with this, we believe that when we give up power to employee, they will be able to take our businesses to different levels. So I think that is the critical element, that we should know that they reflect who we are, they reflect what we do, and they have to own, and we have to create as leaders, or any leader within the organization, they have to create the sense of ownership and see how they position themselves out there, the employee, how is it like?
Absolutely. I think that branding aspect that you're bringing in here is also very important, because your employees are your brand. Those who are on the floor, selling on the floor, if that is the product that you are doing within the hospitality environment, those who greet the people at the door, those who carry the suitcases up to the room, that's your brand. And disengaged employee will therefore have an effect on your customer, an effect on your brand, and that is therefore so important. So Sia, I'm going to hand over to you to conclude these thoughts, and then I'm going to ask, because believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. I'm going to ask each and every panelist to give us their final thoughts, which then means thereafter I will hand over to Mr. Alex, who is here from TIM, the Tanzanian Institute of Managers, and then we wrap up. So Sia, if you would like to conclude this conversation we are having, and then I'll hand over to the panelists to give us their final thoughts.
Right. Thank you very much, Linda, and I really appreciate the previous members who have contributed to this. Mine will be really short. As I said, when it comes to the digital, how it has impacted the way we engage employees and the impact on the customers. I just think of the 4 groups that I mentioned before, the silence, the baby boomers, the Gen X and millennials. It's a struggle really to bring all these people together so that you can serve them. It's not an easy thing. And as mentioned by the CEO from Motsan Group, Sayona, it requires a really mindset shift from the leaders who are leading these organizations. And a few things that I think everything that comes as a glory and disguise as well. So in terms of what we have seen from the technological space, it's easy to share information so easily. You can share information so easily within the organization. Other than waiting to put on the notice board, you can disseminate information and it goes. The challenge on that is we have a lot of tools, the Slacks, Snapchat, Skype, Instagram, mobile app, and all that. The problem is which one is relevant to the organizations that we are in, thinking of the 4 groups of people. I've had situations where the manager says, fine, I need people.
Mr. Sia, is it just me or did everyone lose his...
We get the...
There we go. Mrs. Sia, we are losing you a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like we're losing Sia.
So if I could ask the panelists then to think about the final thoughts that they would like to give to the participants before I hand over to Mr.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Sia, if you would like to finish your thought.
Yes, I
no
just wanted to finish
no
that.
problem.
So the challenge is which one fits better. And I was sharing an example where when it comes to recruitment, I hear people saying, I need people, but don't bring me millennials. So which one will you get and receive 50%?
I think there's a connectivity issue with Mr. Sia, and I think what he is saying is very important and also speaks to our responsibility as the more experienced, the managers, the people who knows the business perhaps, and who might also is to ensure that, and I see that in the discussion in the chat as well, is there our importance to develop, to add value, to bring on board the new people, Generation Z, I don't know where they are now, Z, X, Y, I don't know. But, you know, those generations who do think differently, who do think outside the box, which can be one of our an absolute strength, you know, including that inclusivity of different thoughts, different people, different ideas, different genders, different races, different orientations, different religion, because it adds value to the bigger picture of your organization. So diversity management is also a way in which you can ensure that we allow people or that we allow engagement to take place. So perhaps Shibi, I see that you've switched on your camera. If you would like to tell the panel, the participants what you think should be, or your takeaway, your final thought on this discussion this afternoon. Sabia? Hello?
Hi, sorry.
No problem.
Confused for a second.
Okay.
Well, I think there were a lot of questions that we had been emailed. I think we've barely managed to touch, you know, the surface of this topic, because employee engagement is such an important it's such an important factor of any business right now. Mm-hmm. The way that businesses have evolved in the last couple of years, especially because of I think the age of information, as opposed to where it used to be, where people would be content having a specific job for a longer period of time. Right now, you see a drive towards, I think, one of the big reasons of this is social media. I really give kudos and blame the internet, both at the same time, you know, because I really think that our a global drive towards development, but it's not just development that the drive has gone towards. It's also a global drive towards consumerism. And I'm going to be a little bit philosophical over here. When I say that how much is enough, I'm really a believer in trying to be a bit more minimalistic in my own life. Although I see that, being a mother as well, I have kids, I have to provide for them as well. So at the end of the day, how minimalistic are you going to be? Because you want to be somebody who is scaled down, but you also need to be able to provide. So, at the end of the day, you have to have ambition and all of that. And because of that, your employees as well are in the same situation that you are in. So I'm just trying to tie it in, they're in the same situation that you're in, and they also want to progress as well. They also want to have all the things which, social media tends to portray as being so easy to get and, so glamorous. And it's not necessarily always the case. But on the flip side, obviously, they have those requirements, they have those wants as well, those needs. So you need to also look at, what is giving them that satisfaction, and being able to, make sure that your organization is being able to show them those values that you have, and making sure that, they're engaged with you as a partner, as I've mentioned before as well, as opposed to just being somebody who works for you or,
Yeah.
Because I think that would be my final take.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Sibia. Mr. Soups, I see that you are unmuted. If you would like to continue.
Yeah, thank you. Just to give you a small little example of what digitalization has happened, what has actually helped Africa, for example, because we are now in African continent. There is RGB lines, that is returnable glass lines. These returnable glass lines are actually manufactured in Germany mostly, and France and Italy. Therefore, all the engineers are from that particular segment. Now the millennials are actually having those particular experience, and therefore they can repair the machines. And therefore in Africa, it is the Germans who comes in and actually repairs the machines, whereas digitalization has actually helped through intelligent valve, through the different kind of systems. And now what has happened is that the African people, the Asian people, the emerging economies people have actually learned it through the systems, and they are solving the problems. The fixed cost for a German engineer is 10x, whereas the African person is actually getting 3x and getting a job done equally in a better way. Therefore, how do you actually ensure that you're employing the millennials? Therefore, technology is good or bad depending on the user. And as far as human beings are concerned, they are going to be the most important asset come 2080 or 3060. Human brains are going to be most important. Then how do you actually cater to it? Therefore, what I feel is that what we, the senior people, me, I cannot consider you guys, you might be younger, myself, the senior people, to unlearn, learn, and relearn. If at all we don't do that, the millennials are there to teach us. They are making this continent a better continent. They know about customer service. They know about digitalization in a much more better way than us. They use digitalization in a much more digital transformation in much more better way than we do. If at all we keep our ears and eyes open to change management, I think this can be a better, faster world. 24/7, we are busy because we are not equipped with it. The young generation are not busy. They are doing different things, and those different things includes their hobbies as well. They don't stick to that company for 25 years like we did. They work for a company for 3 years and then say, I don't like this job any longer and I want to do something else, and they excel. They have got that freedom. Digitalization has helped them to get that freedom. Why not to embrace it? Africa, Asia, Latin America needs it to be equal to Europe, to be equal to USA. And therefore, I feel this is the time when that, for example, mobile money, the mobile cash money has been number one in Kenya. It was not in USA. It was not in India. It was not in China. It was in Kenya, Tanzania. And they didn't get into credit card, debit cards, that got into mobile cash. Therefore, it is not that Africans don't imbibe technology. They imbibe technology in a much more faster way. It is only we, the leaders, must ensure that we become an enabler to the technology. Unlearn, learn, relearn.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Soup. Sia, your hand is up if you would like to conclude your thoughts.
Yes, thank you very much. Because the topic was really on the employee engagement and the impact on the customer experience. I think this really, and as a people person coming from the people, I think three things are really important for us to have an impactful on the customer experience. Number one, mindful hiring. How do we hire people? What are the tools that we put in place? And I know Sabia will agree with me. What are the tools that we're using in hiring? How are we attracting the candidates? Number two, do we have, for the leaders now, I'll agree with the previous speaker who just mentioned clearly that as leaders, we need to, I don't believe that they are old people. I believe that to have an aging population like myself, how flexible are we? Are we defining a proper culture within our organization which can support employee engagement? But again, involvement of the employees. What are we sharing to them once we have them, once we have the identified culture? What are the tools that we're giving them? What support are we giving them? The work-life balance, how are we bringing those? And number four, inspirational leaders, leaders who are inspiring. Yeah, I mean, you're meant to be standing. By the mere fact that you're standing there as a leader, you need to be a message. You need to be role modeling. So again, these are the important things that requires the organization to invest in order to have engaged people. And the last one, communication. How are we communicating? How are we connecting? These are really important. Once you have engaged people, then your customer experience bit is sorted out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sia. No matter how you communicate, communication will always stay key. Michael, if you would like to, give us, yes.
Hi, sorry, Linda, can I chime in here?
Let's just have the panelists conclude for us, and then we will give people the opportunity to have that conversation. So, Michael, if you would like to give us your final thoughts, and then Aileen. Michael, I think being in the hospitality industry, we can definitely understand that you could be pulled away from your desk at any moment. Aileen, if you would like to give us your final thought.
Sure, I would like to, Linda. I think what I can always say and conclude is digital transformation is something that we cannot avoid, and it's really moving. The journey is continuing every day. I think it's something that we have to embrace every day. We have to embrace and tie out to our teams, tie out to a community. Like digital transformation is something that is a journey, and it's a journey to the employees. It is a journey to our customers. So we have to support the journey and to see the adoption is taking place in the pace that we think is acceptable. And we have also to look into the angles of positive side around it. The negative side, yes, is something that we can educate people and crash it out. But I think we have to look more into the positive side of technology, the positive side of digital, because there's no way out. We should be able to move into a different level in every aspect of life without digitization at this particular moment. So we have to make it adopted across the generations and into our communities. And most of all, whatever we implement, are we implementing it to deliver the purpose into our communities? That is critical, because yes, there's a growth, there's a profitability to the business. That is what we're looking for. But are we there to deliver the purpose into our communities, engaging different aspects of social contracts, for example, technology like mHealthy to save lives. When it comes to farmers, the end users, are we engage them into this particular technology? How are we putting the inclusion into a technology to cater the different aspect of involvement of the business? Because the more they grow, the customer they grow, we grow with them, and we have to treat all aspects of our connectivities as partners. We are in the partnership business. That's what I can say.
Absolutely. And I think also by embracing technology, by embracing the digital age, it's doing business simpler, it's doing business faster, it's doing it creatively, innovatively, and it's doing business. It's not the new way anymore. It's how it is. And Soup's made that very clear today in his conversation with all of us. I would ask that if there are any specific questions that people would like to post in the chat box, so that we can ask the panelists about that before I say thank you to everybody. But I'm also going to hand over to Mr. Alex. Mr. Alex from the Tanzanian Institute for Managers, if you would like to say something. I saw you a little bit earlier in the participant, but I don't seem to see him now. Mr. Alex, are you still there? If you could unmute yourself. Yes, Mr. Alex. Can you unmute yourself? You should be able to.
Yes,
Yes,
Linda,
sir.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. And
Mr. Alex?
I'm using my mobile phone, but I'd like to thank the panelists for this. Can you hear me, Linda?
We started hearing you eventually, so you were breaking up a little bit, but we can hear you now.
Okay. What I was saying is I thank the panelists for their at TI business community, so that they give their thoughts on service. And for me, what stands out is leadership is critical in everything that we do, because when you talk of customer experience, every one of us is a customer at some point. So we all want that experience. And the one common denominator in everything is that clients are people, investors are people, managers are people, everyone. So you need to understand people. And I'm glad the cultural aspect came out, the generational aspect came out. But when you improve the quality of your leaders, you improve engagement. I think if you join now Tanzania Institute of Managers, if you join the programs that are offered by Regenesys, you can constantly be improving so that the quality of leadership improves and then the quality of your employees improves.
No, I think we lost Mr. Alex there for a little. Okay, Mr. Alex, I'm so sorry to have cut you short, but I think we lost you a little bit. I see there are questions in the chat box. It's about the total experience. I think the total experience, Cuthbert, is a topic that we can discuss as a webinar on its own, because I mean we touched a lot of total experience right now, but we haven't spoken about it as a continuum or as a collective. The total experience is so much that we need to talk about when it talks about that. I don't know if someone on the panel can give a very short answer to total experience, because I see that we have 1 minute to go before I start stealing time from everybody. So total experience, if someone on the panel just quickly want to Soups, would you like to just give us that final thought?
Sustainable customer happiness, delivering maximum value to all stakeholders.
Yeah, Exactly. So it's about sustainability. It's about what you use, the tools that you use to make sure that you engage, that make sure that you sustain, that you retain, that you. So it's all of that put together to make sure that we can add value to the customer on a daily basis, and therefore make for a successful organization. So from my side, ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very grateful to, there we go, Soups. Thank you so much. There's a whole formula for you there, Mr. Custard, that Soups put down for us. Thank you so much. So from my side as well, thank you so much to panelists for your time, for your availability, for exposing your thoughts, for your ideas, for adding value to, I think there was about at a stage 85, 90 people listening to us. So that is a privilege to have those many ears and to be responsible for those many ears, managers, students, and employees alike. So thank you very much, everybody, for giving us the opportunity to share our thoughts, share our experience with one another. Thank you so much, panelists, for availing your time, and thank you so much, participants, for being so active on the chat, being engaged and listening to this thought. I do think if I can stress Mr. Alex and Deo, who I see also online from Tanzania Institute of Management, this was an introduction to a very needed conversation that business managers and business need that employees and managers. Have a beautiful afternoon and join us for the next webinar. Thank you, everybody. Mr. Soups, if you're still here, someone is asking if you could elaborate on your formula about total experience. If you could type that in the chat box, that would be very great. There we go. Thank you. Thanks so much, Eileen. Soups. Sia, do you have a hand up, or is that a legacy hand?
Not a hand at all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sia. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Recording stopped.
Thanks.